All right, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Fallon's Daily Toast. I just wanted to open up with a quote by Che Guevara, and it's one of my favorite quotes of the time. So now in the mountains and fields of America, on its flatlands and in its jungles, in the wilderness or in the traffic of cities, on the banks of its great oceans or rivers, this world is beginning to tremble. Anxious hands are stretched forth, ready to die for what is theirs, to win those rights that were laughed at by one and all for 500 years. So tonight on Fallon's Daily Toast, I am going to live stream Stop the War on Black Men, and this is going to be hosted by the Black Power Blueprint and African People's Education and Defense Fund, and that'll start at 7 sharp. There is a page, I'll share it with you in the comments below, but I'll read a little bit of the article that they shared on the event page. In New York, almost 120,000 black men between the ages of 25 and 54 are missing from everyday life. In Chicago, 45,000 are, and more than 30,000 are missing in Philadelphia. Across the South, from North Charleston, South Carolina, through Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and even up through Ferguson, Missouri, hundreds of thousands more are missing. They are missing largely because of early deaths, or because they are behind bars. Remarkably, black women who are 25 to 54 are not in jail, outnumber black men in the category by 1.5 million, according to an upshot analysis. So for every 100 black women in this age group living outside of jail, there are only 83 black men. Among whites, the equivalent number is 99, nearly parity. African American men have long been more likely to be locked up and more likely to die young, but the scale of the combined toll is nonetheless jarring. It is a measure of the deep disparities that continue to afflict black men. Disparity is being debated after a recent spate of killings by the police, and the gender gap is itself a further cause of social ills, leaving many communities without enough men to be fathers and husbands. Perhaps the starkest description of the situation is this: more than 1 out of every 6 black men who today should be 25 and 54 have disappeared from daily life. The numbers are staggering, says a professor out of the University of Texas. And what is the city with at least 10,000 black residents that has the single largest proportion of missing black men? Ferguson, Missouri, where a fatal police shooting last year led to nationwide protests and a Justice Department investigation that found widespread discrimination against black residents. Ferguson has 60 men for every black women in the age group. And I could go on to read the article, but I'll leave it at that, and you can pick up where I left off if you want. Go to the page, Stop the War Against Black Men. You can find it on Facebook. But that leads me, though, to talk, too, not only about tonight, but about the reparations tour that is coming through Somerville. It's happening on Wednesday, March 28th from 7 to 9 o'clock at the warehouse just around the corner from Somerville Media Center. And there is an event page, and I'll be there among so many other of my comrades. And I'll read a little bit here of the details. The Black Power Blueprint. So on March 28th, 7 p.m., at the warehouse in Somerville, the Boston branch of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement will be holding an event as part of the national speaking tour of the Reparations Tour, a white solidarity with the Black Power Blueprint. So the Black Power Blueprint, led by Deputy Chair Ozane Yeshatela of Black Star Industries, is the main campaign of the Uhuru movement at this time due to the urgency of opposing gentrification, more aptly called ethnic cleansing, and in building black economic development. The Black Power Blueprint is based in the St. Louis Ferguson area, where the oppression of the black community is even worse now than it was when killer cop Darren Wilson murdered black teenager Mike Brown. The The economic institutions of the Black Power Blueprint include an Uhuru Community Center, an Uhuru Cafe, and a bakery and a community garden. $300,000 total is needed to make the Black Power Blueprint a reality in St. Louis-Ferguson area, building economic development for the Black community already being replicated in St. Pete. In just 2 months, supporters of every nationality raised $22,000 towards the first phase of the project, and we're now in the second phase of the project, and that's going to be a lot of what they'll talk about at the reparations tour. It's really exciting. In fact, they're getting ready to make the One Nation, One Africa marketplace and community garden, but they need money and they need your help. So really, unity through material solidarity is truly the #1 way to show that you unite with seeing Black community, Black economic development and unity. So the speakers of at the Boston event of the reparations tour will be Tiffany Murphy and Jesse Neville. And Tiffany Murphy is a member of the African People's Socialist Party and works in the Office of Black Star Industries, the liberated African economy, which is building for independent Black economic development programs around the world. And the Black Power Blueprint is a project of Black Star Industries. And Jesse Neville is former mayoral candidate of St. Petersburg, Florida, and is also the national chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and vice chair of Communities United for Reparations and Economic Development. So they'll be speaking. Please come. You know, there'll be an opportunity for people in the audience to ask questions, and it's really exciting. And so that's Wednesday from 7 to 9 again at the warehouse. And I just wanted to really quick talk about something else, but let me just see if I can get there. Right here. Okay. I'll also share this article, but this is from the Burning Spear, the official organ of the African People's Socialist Party, and it talks about the Black Power Blueprint and Phase 1 fundraising drive, a huge success. It's very, very exciting. So thanks to you, I'm going to read from this article. Thanks to you and the overwhelming response from nearly 400 supporters, the Black Power Blueprint online fundraising drive successfully reached its goal for the project's first phase, raising $25,000 in donations and reparations for the renovation of the Uhuru House at 4101 West Florissant in St. Louis. The crowdfunding drive was officially launched on December 8th, 2017, and a unique project led by African People's Socialist Party Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, based on the vision of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, that the economic and political are one. Scores of volunteers from throughout the city and the Midwest region also participated in work days, often in the bitter cold of the St. Louis winter. By the end of February, with donated resources, volunteer labor, and crews of African workers, the party unveiled the stunning new face of the building under the leadership of Deputy Chair Ona Zane and her dynamic team, including Project Director Tichara Masimba and African People's Solidarity Committee Office of Reparations and Economic Development Director Kitty Riley. The world watched as the Uhuru House was remodeled from an abandoned 3-story, 9,000 square foot structure with crumbling brick walls, broken windows, and a rotting roof and floors into a gorgeous, state-of-the-art political and economic hub, the first phase of an ambitious program that will profoundly transform the entire community. As one of the most dynamic fronts of the party today, the Black Power Blueprint is a multifaceted, anti-colonial self-determination project in the impoverished and devastated O'Fallon neighborhood of St. Louis that has galvanized an outpouring of support, solidarity, and reparations from throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. In a city where fierce African working-class resistance rose up after the police murder of 18-year-old Mike Brown on August 9, 2014, on the streets of St. Louis suburb of Ferguson, the African People's Socialist Party took the struggle beyond protest by building a movement to permanently bring political and economic power into the hands of the impoverished African community. In his 2017 political report to the African People's Socialist Party plenary, Chairman Omali Yeshitela called on the party and African people to begin grabbing up properties that have been abandoned and degraded in our community, where African workers experience general economic quarantine by the colonial abusers and colonial rulers. About a year ago, Deputy Chair Onazene came to St. Louis and began to purchase abandoned and rundown properties in the North Side African community. In addition to the Uhuru House, the Black Power Blueprint properties and products include plans for a community garden in the One Africa, One Nation open-air marketplace across the street from the Uhuru House, where 2 condemned buildings must be demolished in order to meet these goals. So phase 2 is raising $20,000 for the demolition of those 2 buildings, and that's the phase. And the fund launched March 16th. So I'll share this article and you can read it yourself. And it's just all so exciting. And I just want to salute everyone that has been just doing some of the most incredible organizational work I've ever seen in my life. And I just so honored to be working amongst all of you. And I look forward to being able to help more than I have been able to. But really, so thank you so much for tuning into Fallon's Daily Toast. This is a great book I'm reading right now called Open Veins of Latin America by Eduardo Galeano. I'm to the end of it, 5 centuries of the pillage of a continent. And I'll read you just the last page before I go. In these lands, we are not experiencing the primitive infancy of capitalism, but its vicious senility. Underdevelopment isn't a stage of development, but rather its consequence. Latin America's underdevelopment arises from external development and continues to feed it. A system made impotent by its function of international servitude and moribund since birth has feet of clay. It pretends to be destiny and would like to be thought eternal. All memory is subversive because it is different. And likewise any program for the future. The zombie is made to eat without salt. Salt is dangerous. It could awaken him. This system has its paradigm in the immutable society of ants. For that reason, it accords ill with the history of humankind, because that is always changing. And because in the history of humankind, every act of destruction meets its response, sooner or later, in an act of creation. That is all. So tune in at 7 o'clock, and I'll be live streaming that on not only Fallon's Daily Toast Facebook page, but on Channel 3 in Somerville. And I thank you all again for tuning in, and until next time, unity through reparations. If you really want to show what side you're on, you'll unite with the toiling masses of the world and show solidarity, material solidarity, by paying reparations. And you don't have to wait for the government to do it or to implement some flawed system. You can do it now. And you can go to uhurusolidarity.org. You can also go to APEDF. You can go to the African People's Education and Defense Fund and donate to the Black Power Blueprint directly. There's so many ways. And if you have questions, feel free to just reach out to me, okay? That is it. Uhuru.